Welcome back to Educating New Mexico. My name is Bonnie Murphy. We're continuing our series. It's about parent involvement in schools on a very different level than most of the discussion has been about. Hi, I'm Bonnie Murphy. This is Educating New Mexico, and this is Jessica. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm really excited to hear about your, your journey, and it sounds like you've gotten through it. So it'll be a hindsight perspective that we're looking at today. Yeah. So your mother, you're going to have a baby,
yes,
a little boy, yes. And you also have a son, and his name is
Brayden. Mm-hmm. Brayden Bossier is his name.
Okay.
So he will be 9 in October. Mm-hmm. He goes to a public school. He is in the 3rd grade, mm-hmm. and I've started having issues with the school district when he was in preschool. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 2 years and 5 months, and I noticed that there was a delay when he was about 18 months, and that's what made me go and get him checked out to see what kind of delay he had.
I'm sorry, he was how old?
18 months.
So he was probably in a preschool then, right? In the Bernalillo public schools?
When he was 18 months, he was actually going to a daycare.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually kind of comparing a couple kids to him, and what their milestones were compared to what my son was doing. Mm-hmm. And that's when I noticed, okay, he's not where he's supposed to be.
Okay.
And one of my coworkers, she had suggested taking my son or getting my son some therapies because of his delays. So I did that, and I went through a really great service. And I had the therapy for him. It was speech. It was occupational, I think, and a couple others.
So do you mind if I just clarify, because people can't just go get services for their children, right?
Right.
So there has to be a diagnosis.
There has to be some kind of delay in the child, or if your child is born premature, or some kind of disability. Okay.
So there was a diagnosis of of developmental delay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then that was what you took with you to the different therapies. And these are the outside therapies, right?
Yes.
Okay. Outside services, not in the child care.
Right.
Okay.
And so I went and did that. And then at church one day, the nursery attendant suggested to me, hey, look, I think your child may have autism. And so I looked into it, and I got an appointment to go to get him seen. And as I was doing this, I was also in class. In school, I was taking a public speaking class. Okay. And one of the projects asked if that you had to do some kind of research and then talk about it. And so I did that, and my topic was on autism.
Isn't that awesome? The way that those classes, that's what's happening for me right now too, in the classes I'm taking. So what college were you going to?
I was going to C&M at the time.
Oh, okay.
And it was my 2nd or 3rd trimester.
Yeah, sorry. Baby on the brain.
Yes. It was my 2nd or 3rd semester ever going to C&M or college or anything. And so that's why I took it. I took public speaking.
And were you just taking classes just because, or are you going for a certain?
I was going to become a teacher.
Oh, wonderful. So were you going through the alternative licensure program, or?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was taking the basics first, and then also taking what I needed to take to get further along. Yeah. So one of the classes that was suggested was public speaking.
Yes, it's required for.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that's why I took, and it was the topic was supposed to be on informative. So I chose the topic on autism because that was a topic that was personal in my life in finding out more about him.
So you can equip for him. Yeah. Yes, and also for the profession, teaching profession. we need more teachers like you that are interested, and yeah, definitely.
So that's what I did. And then I took him to get diagnosed. And they had like different ways of doing it. Like he was interested in bubbles. At the time they had bubbles out, and that's all he wanted to play with. And the trains, because he was into Thomas the Train as well. And so that's all he would play with over there when they brought stuff out.
So he was showing some autistic behaviors.
Yes.
Okay.
He wouldn't, like most kids will go from this toy to that toy to, like everywhere and play with everything and like have imaginative play and the way they communicate, that kind of stuff. And he was only showing like he was interested in the toys, but he wouldn't he was only interested in some of the toys, not like everything. And what
they go through a whole litany of tests for that, observations of the play and things like that.
Yes.
And speech and
so
he qualified for speech as well.
Yes. And he still needs a last speech. Like he is very verbal and he does speak to you, but there's certain words that he can't say or he tries to say, but it's not clear. And I still I have problems understanding certain words too. So it's like, I'll ask him, okay, Brayden, what did you just say?
Yes.
Can you show me what you just said? So that way I can understand what you're saying.
And so that's one of the therapies that they're probably working on with him, right? In speech. Okay.
Yes. And there's times where I'll say, yes, Brayden, even though I don't understand what he's saying. Or I'll be like, okay, Brayden, yay, Brayden, okay, even if I don't quite understand, and I know I should do better, but it's like, I'm like, I'll be driving or I'll be.
Yeah, it's hard to be there for every little thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for a majority of the time, I know what he's talking about or know what he's saying. And I have a habit of if I know that he's saying something, I'll go ahead and like interpret what he's saying just in case somebody else doesn't understand him.
Right.
And
because not everybody will ask for clarification or reinforce those kind of structures, that he's probably used to being trained with, the speech language therapist, pathologist, SLP, speech and language pathologist so if it's hard when people aren't trained to reinforce what he's learning in his sessions with his SLP. Right.
And so there's times where I'll be like, he'll go up to somebody and he'll tell somebody, go, hey, Thomas is blue. And it may not be as clear. Like when he says that, it is actually clear, but it may not be as clear to other people. So I'll be like, oh, Thomas is blue, Brayden? And he goes, yes. So that way the other person knows, oh, okay.
Right. And are these accommodations in his IEP?
Yes.
Okay. So the speech and language pathologist. So one thing that I'm not clear on, and I'm a special education licensed teacher, is that what I've been told is that the speech and language pathologist has their goals and the things that they're working on.
Yes.
But are those translated into the accommodations?
Yes, because he needs
reinforcement in the classroom. Situations as well.
Yes.
Okay. So just making sure. Yeah, I thought so, but
he is supposed to have like whatever his IEP says, they're supposed to go through with that and work with it with him in the class as well. So like say when he goes into his speech class, they take him out for 30 minutes or an hour or however how long it's supposed to be. And they work with him. Last year what they did was they read stories to him and they had him tell her what the story was about. And that was
social stories mostly. Yeah.
It was like I think one of them was like the No David books.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you know the No David books, but he really loves them, and we have like 3 of the No David books.
Right.
And he absolutely loves them. Like he actually memorized all of them.
So was he diagnosed with autism when he was 18 months old, or you said some time had passed?
It was some time. He was 2 years and 5 months.
Okay. And so then he was in the same program?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in Abrazo's up until he turned 3.
Okay.
And then because Abrazo's only does therapy on the outside until he starts school. And he starts school right the day after he turned 3. And because at the school, the preschool he went to, they allowed him to go a year early because of his autism.
So this was a preschool within a school district,
Yes.
A public school district.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they allowed him to go. I had issues with the school, I guess, the last year he went. He was at the preschool for 3 years. And they would call CYFD on me.
Wait. I'm sorry.
So
they called CYFD on you?
Because they would sit here.
For what?
For the one of the times was because the dog that my mom had at the time had bit him. Another time was because Brayden was not completely potty trained yet, and he was on the bus, I guess, and he had just had a bowel movement, and it looked like it was caked on him, is what they said. Or that, like, had not giving him a bath on a regular basis, or not, like, keeping up with him. So they would just nitpicking on every little thing, which to me is, like, not, it was BS to me, because he has to take a bath not every day, it was every other day, because he also has eczema. And if he has
too much soap and it makes it
can
worse.
rush out. And this is a part of where I was learning about transitions. I have to give him a time limit and find out what works for him.
So did anybody at the school talk to you about, or even ask you or try to find out, like, what your routines were at home, and, give you maybe some strategies for, how, we're all learning when we become parents, right? Even though there's lots of literature out there, everybody's situation is a little bit different.
Yes.
There's some consistency, some things that continue to be, something that needs to be dealt with children when they're growing. But did anybody reach out to you and try to help you, walk you along, and kind of give you some guidance?
At first, before school, it was the Brazils. They said that you should try to do this with him. You should try to do that with him.
Okay.
Like they said pictures. Try to use like pictures. I say, since I was potty training Brayden at the time.
Yes.
A picture of a toilet. So that way Brayden can come up to me and go, "Mommy, potty, potty, mommy." Visual pictures for communication. They also try to use They also said use a timer. Give Brayden 5 minutes. Okay, Brayden, you got 5 minutes left for the movie, and then it's time to take a bath.
Right. Yeah.
Or you have 10 minutes left, and then I'll give you 10 minutes, and when you do the 10 minutes, or when the 10 minutes is up, this is what you do. What we're doing. We're leaving after 10 minutes. And that transition has always been hard for Brayden.
Yes.
He loves going to the park. He always has loved going to the park. And every time that it was time to go, he'd throw a fit. He'd have a meltdown. And that's how I would have to put on the timer. Even the timers didn't work when leaving the places like the park or the places that he loved going to. But he has actually gotten better at it. When I tell him, "Okay, Brayden, it's time to go. I'll give you 5 more minutes, and it's time to go." And he'll be like, "Oh, okay, Mom." And then he'll watch the timer and go, "Mom, timer went off. It's time for bed. Yeah, timer is off. It's time. Let's go." know. So he's actually gotten a lot better from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
with that consistency, and practice and time, definitely.
Yeah, so that actually has helped. And with the school, they just were just nitpicking at every little thing. And we even kept a communication log on between me, the teacher, one of the therapists at the school, and one of the daycare providers. And it was just completely, okay, hey, Brayden did this today. He hit another child today.
So you were getting a lot of negative feedback. So did you get positive feedback? Did you get any positive Reinforcement things that he was doing well, or little milestones he might have reached, or anything like that?
And that was more on like the therapy side. The therapist would always give more of the positive feedbacks. And the EA, because in preschool, there's always two teachers, one main teacher and one EA. And the EA would always give me the positive. And the actual teacher was always the one that's usually nitpicking at everything.
That's interesting, because research is showing it takes time to build up, high quality teaching strategies and be able to use them proficiently. But I think what we're starting to see is that anybody can learn this. Anybody can learn that we just use positive reinforcement to continue to encourage the child to do things that are positive, right?
Right. So that was my issue with the preschool. It was just always a negative. And I'd come home crying because I'm trying to do my best. Yeah. As parenting him, I want him to learn. That's why he's in school. Yeah. And it's hard when people would always sit here and nitpick at every little thing and tell me that he can't do this, or he's not doing that he's not focusing on what he's supposed to do, or he's not clean when he really is clean. That kind of stuff. That just bothered me, because I am a clean person, and so is my son. Yeah. And my son actually likes being clean. He actually will pick up after himself too. Yeah. So just stuff like that, it's like you're nitpicking. That's not, you're looking for something, for an excuse.
So when you say looking for an excuse,
to call CYFD or to find a reason why, to tell me something bad. It was.
What did that do to your family? What did that do to your relationships within the family and with your son?
With my son, it was. I don't think Brayden actually quite understood what was going on. I just tried to parent him as much as I could. And I would go tell my mom as well, because my mom at the time was working at CYFD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my mom would actually look at the cases and say, okay, that's BS.
Okay.
And
that was her role?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And my mom would actually say, okay, that's just BS, because she couldn't actually deal with Brayden or Brayden's case, because that was family, and that was, so it would have.
But she had some context, some ability to compare, things that were being reported and what that was like for you.
Right. And she could actually sit here and say, I know that's not true, because of the fact that Jessica's doing her best. She's actually a good parent here. She's not abusing this child. She's not neglecting this child. She's not, and it's just sitting here.
She's not perfect, but she's learning.
My son has more of a disability than what me and my three sisters had, or what my nieces had. Mm. So
you were probably pretty stressed out during that time,
because
that had to have affected your son.
Yeah. And I think that's partly why he does act out so much more, because he's thinking, oh, okay, I'm getting the attention. I'm getting, even if it's a bad attention or whatnot. And I would sit here when he had the bad attitudes or the meltdowns, I would sit here and tell him, I don't like this attitude, like in a way that he understood. I would sit here and I'd cry because, I'm trying to teach him, the rights from wrongs. And it's harder for me to teach him, I don't like this attitude. Let's try something else, to a child with special needs, rather than a child who's considered normal.
But any child needs to hear from their parent that they're doing well, and make that connection between what they're doing in school and what they're doing in home. And, this is great, excellent job. And then we generalize. So we transfer what we're learning at school to home, and what we're learning at home to school. So that communication back and forth is so important. And need to recognize the positive. Nobody thrives on negative.
Right. And I do encourage him, like every single day of his life. I've always said, "Oh, yay, Brayden!" And I would praise him. "Yay, you did this. Good job, Brayden." Right now, it's high fives. "Brayden, you did good. So good. I like this. I'm so proud of you. High five, Brayden." And he's actually he likes it when I do that.
Yeah.
I got his progress report that back for this year. His first one, he had all but 2 2s and then 3 3s.
So this is an improvement.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. I want to find out what the difference is.
Okay.
Between, the 2 schools and the 2, how's he doing? He's excelling now, but before
Yes.
it was such a
hard
difficulty. Yeah.
Yes.
And so those were the kind of things that were going on with, his school experience in preschool and kindergarten.
Kindergarten, I liked his teacher in kindergarten and in first grade.
Why did you like his teacher?
Because they would actually try to help him better. The only thing that I didn't like is that they didn't really send home homework.
What? You want homework?
Yeah.
Who wants homework?
Well, it's because I wanted to work with him. I wanted to be on the same pages with his teachers and at home and help him with what he needed to help with. Mm-hmm. I wanted him to be at his grade level. I want him to succeed in everything that they do, like he does. Granted, I know he's not going to be advanced, and I know he's not I would like him to be advanced, but I know it's going to be a long time from now. And I want him to be, at least right now, I just want him to be at his grade level. And he's not there. He's in preschool, kindergarten work right now, and he's in the 3rd grade.
So you are one of those parents that wants to help at home
Yes.
to continue doing interventions with him and
yes.
trying to get him caught up. So that's really valuable. Actually, there's, sometimes parents don't want to do homework, or schools, like you said, don't send homework. So
right.
Why did they not send homework?
I'm not sure why.
Did you ask them?
Mm-hmm. I requested.
And there was there an answer, a response?
No, not really. They didn't respond saying that why there wasn't any homework. There's every once in a while that they give them something, and I would send it back, but it wasn't what they were doing actually in the class. It was something totally different because of where Brayden's delay was. They were working on where he should be or where he was at the time, instead of actually what the kindergartners were doing or what the first graders were doing.
Well, mostly what I hear is that the homework that's being sent home is too challenging.
Yeah.
They don't know how to help them. It's a different kind of math to do. And it is difficult for teachers to teach parents also,
right.
how to do it. If they're trying to teach the children, but then also to teach the parents. And so a lot of times they just send review homework home so that parents can kind of reinforce those, skills that they've already learned. And they're supposed to be teaching those, new skills in school, but then those would get put into a cycle of review, right? And then be sent home. So
yeah, and I just wanted to work with them that way, where we were on the same page and that we were doing the same things with Brayden at home and at school.
Okay.
And that's where I was coming from, because when you're a parent, you want to know what your child's doing and where your child's at. And it felt like I wasn't getting that.
Right.
But other than that, I liked his first grade teacher, and I liked his I did like his second grade teacher too. And I liked his kindergarten teacher, because they were all trying to actually, it seemed like they had Brayden's best interest in him, with them. But they were also not, they didn't really work with Brayden at the school. Or I felt like they didn't really work with him, because if they did, Brayden may not be that much behind.
So when you say you don't think that they worked with him, what would they be doing if they were in the classroom with him? When you say work with him, what does that mean?
Meaning he should be reading right now. He doesn't know how to read. He can write, but it looks like a preschooler's handwriting. He's not spelling. He doesn't know how to spell. he knows how to count. He's now learning, what adding and subtracting is.
Mm-hmm.
He's still, he's at the beginning stages of those.
And he's in 3rd grade.
Yes.
Okay. So he's about at a 1st grade level then with his math.
Yeah.
So, but when you say working with him, what does that mean? Does that mean, do you know what it means?
Working with him, like...
Do you know how teachers work with kids in the classroom?
Not quite, because I haven't really experienced it yet.
Okay. So have you been able to observe maybe?
I've observed one classroom, but it was not Brayden's class at the time.
Okay.
I haven't really observed what they do with Brayden, because they have also an issue with if Brayden sees me at the school, if he knows I'm there, he acts totally different than what he would be if I wasn't there. So
windows. Oh, I know some schools who have like 2-way windows so that people can observe, and watch what their kids are doing and how the teachers are working with them. So, I mean, that would be nice, wouldn't it? To be able to do that for you.
It would be nice. And then that way I can actually see and observe without Brayden knowing that I'm there.
What about video? Having the teachers take, the administration taking a video, not giving it to you, right? Because there's that confidentiality, of other students in the classroom and stuff like that, but maybe letting you just watch it to see how he's doing. Would you be opposed to something like that?
I wouldn't mind seeing it at all. Because I would like to actually see how he does and how they're working with him. Because if I see how they work with him, maybe I can learn to work with him as well at home.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't mind, like, whatever they're doing, I don't mind doing it at home either. Like, I want to work with the school as well as the school working with me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to always be the one that's always giving them, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right.
At home. What you guys doing at school, I want it to be like a mutual ground where both are working together to make Brayden's future better.
Right. And when it sounds like 2 entities are coming from a different direction and they don't really meet in the middle, that makes the communication very difficult.
Yes.
And so that probably adds another additional layer of stress on the lives of the family.
Yeah.
And actually probably the teachers too, right? Because they're kind of caught in the middle as well sometimes. Exactly. And then I don't know if they know what to do about it. That's what I'm wondering, is like, what do we do about this? They can only do as much as administration's going to let them do a lot of times, right? Unless they have perfect autonomy.
Right.
Yeah. So that was what grade was that? Well, you're talking about now?
This was in kindergarten and 1st grade. And then in 2nd grade, I had an issue because they actually made Brayden work. And which is fine by me. I wanted them to have Brayden work, but it was new to Brayden. It was like something like you just piled right on him.
Okay, so when you say work, what do you mean? Schoolwork or homework?
It was schoolwork.
Oh, so you're saying they made it harder for him.
Yeah.
He did a lot more challenging work?
Yeah, because like this is where, like in kindergarten and 1st grade, he didn't really do all this work. I never got anything back from kindergarten and 1st grade. 2nd grade, I would get stuff back, but it was more challenging for the teacher because the teacher actually made him work instead of what others did. And I would get calls.
Okay, so such a huge jump between not a very rigorous curriculum and instruction to very rigorous curriculum and instruction.
And it was just as put on him right away instead of kind of like smoothing it out where, okay, we're going to do this today, Brayden. Let's do this. And
so the transitions weren't very helpful. They weren't.
Right. They just place it right on him without actually telling him, okay, Brayden.
Didn't you just tell me that that's part of his accommodations? Those are in his accommodations in his IEP, that he needs to have transition.
Exactly.
A period of, and does it spell out what those transition are like? Is it the timer?
There's timer that you have to do a timer. You have to verbally tell him. You have to show pictures, like the picture schedule, just all this stuff. And they did have the picture schedule for him, but they just put it right on him. Okay, this is what we're doing. Instead of, okay, Brayden, let's do this. And then once you do this, then you get to play.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that they were choosing one of the strategies, the accommodations in the IEP, but not working with another one of the strategies and accommodations that needed to be in place for him as well. Okay.
So it was still a struggle because he still had meltdowns, or he had more meltdowns at school this time around than he did in kindergarten, first grade.
But okay, so you said that they called you.
No, they would call me, and I was actually working at the daycare this time.
At the same school, basically?
Yeah, the daycare. I work at the daycare that I had Brayden into. And every time that they would call me, saying, hey, you need to come get Brayden. Brayden had a meltdown. He spit at the teacher. He scratched the teacher. He, just all this stuff.
He was triggered somehow.
Yeah. And he was triggered. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? They would not actually tell me anything. They just said, this is what he did to the teachers. And this is inappropriate behavior. I'm like, well, what can you tell me what led to this behavior? They wouldn't tell me. And so then I would ask, there's a day where when I got called, she told me that the therapist that was working with them told me, okay, this is what was going on. He was spitting at the teacher, at the special ed teacher. And he was also scratching, and he left marks. And I'm like, okay. So like after that, I left, and I asked Brayden, well, what happened? Why were you hitting? Why were you spitting? His answer, they pushed me down. And this therapist as well told me that Brayden cannot answer why questions. And he can answer why questions. You just have to do it in a particular way where he understands what's going on or understands the question. And he actually did tell me, Mommy, they pushed me down.
You mean physically pushed him down? So they pushed him, or they were holding him down?
I don't know. I even asked, I told them, okay, Brayden told me this. Brayden told me that you guys pushed him down. I'm not blaming anybody. I just want to know what's going on, what happened. They didn't tell me anything. They wouldn't tell me anything.
So, I mean, if it's getting to that point, the next thing is to do a functional behavior assessment and try to get a behavior intervention plan in place, right? So did you all do that? Why?
It was not brought up to me.
Okay.
And
did you know that you can ask for that?
I think I did, but I didn't because they were I don't know why. One of the times I think I did ask for like extra help was because I wanted to get more therapy for him from the outside. And one of the therapies I asked for from the outside wanted to go and look at go observe Brayden in school or take him out or something. And they said no to that because they said that he's already being taken out of the classroom for X amount of hours as it is. They just said they can't do that because he's already missing so much out of class as it is that they can't accommodate that.
Did he get suspended for the behavior?
No, they would just call me to come pick him up.
But you realize you don't have to go pick your child up from school unless they're suspended, right? You know that now?
Yeah, I knew that.
Isn't that amazing? Like there's so many parents who get a phone call and, let me pick my child up. And sometimes that negatively reinforces the behavior because they want to go home.
Yeah.
Because they're not having fun. They're getting pushed down, or they're feeling so frustrated that they want to, spit and kick, and that's not fun.
Right. And that's something else that they said that Brayden would kick as well. And I had to bring slippers in for him to wear during school. So if he actually did kick, it wouldn't be his hard shoes that was kicking them. And so I did that, but it's like, why would he be kicking in the first place?
Right. It's figure out what's going on and try to help the child and figure out how to work with them without, getting to that point.
Right. And it's when I asked, what was going on, they wouldn't tell me. And all they would say is, okay, Brayden did this, 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 this. Instead of, okay, well, what led to this, 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 and this?
Right.
And
that's what a real functional behavior assessment is. If it's based on data, we're looking at what occurred prior to the behavior.
And I can't fix the behavior as a parent if I don't know what caused the behavior in the first place.
Right.
And come give me a hug. And then let's talk about why you're going, why you threw the rock today, why you hit this person.
And I don't think, I think some people think that that's giving excuses, for behavior.
Right.
I don't see it as giving excuses. I see it as problem solving.
Yeah.
If we're not just constantly negative, this is what they did, and we're saying, okay, this happened, but we figured out that this was what happened before. So let's see what we can do differently. And then sit down with the family and say, what is your thought? Have you seen this at home?
Right.
What do you do? Is it successful? Is it not?
You're right. And that's why I tried to do with the parent too. And she goes, yeah, and I told her, I've been trying to, with this child, I've been saying, okay, I think you need a hug and maybe that might help. And I told her, this is what I'm doing. And she goes, I love the idea. Thank you.
Good.
And she will tell me, okay, what he's done at home too. So, and that's that kind of thing I wanted from the school as well for Brayden, because Brayden and this other child are two completely different children. Anyway, he's a normal child versus what Brayden is. But it's just the behaviorals with him. And so that's why I have to try to think differently than what I had to do with Brayden. I had to do something different with this child. And
so with the child that does not have a diagnosis, right? You're doing those tier 1 interventions. You're trying to do things within the classroom, and seeing if those work. Right. And, so if you're, I don't know if you do this or not, but if you're taking the data and writing it down, you have a log that you're keeping about all of that and what's going on, then you're also taking data, and that way you have something in case you aren't able to figure out what works for that child, then you can move to those tier 2 interventions. And that's where the SAT comes in, right? The student assistance team. And that's where the maybe a behavior intervention plan needs to come into place, or maybe we just need to ramp up the, get some other people in to collaborate with and figure out, what do you think? Parents, what do you think? Teachers, what do you think? We all have different areas of expertise, so we can open up the conversation and try to problem solve together. So but then the tier 3 is when those aren't working either, and there may be a disability. So we need to have a diagnosis and see if there is something going on.
Right. And that's where, I would like what I'm doing with this child. I would like the teachers to do that with Brayden, but also communicate with me on what they're working with and what, and then say, okay, this is what we're doing. What are you doing at home? Can we work together here? Can we, XOXOXO? And that's what I want to do. I want to be that parent that's on the ball and being, yes, let's do this. No, that's not a good idea because, that's not going to work how Brayden is, or yes, that's a perfect idea. I just want to be like the parent that's involved with the child's needs and in what they're doing in school and whatnot.
So he's in 3rd grade now.
Yes.
And do you feel like you're getting that kind of communication that you would like to?
Yes, I am. I agree with what the teacher said, that she wants to see where he's at without the help. But then again, Brayden does need that help. So
I think that, just to help you understand, I think that you're absolutely right. It's both, right?
Yeah.
We don't always need to give them that help, because sometimes we do need to do an assessment and see where they're at.
Right.
But when we help them, we're giving them practice at doing it a certain way that might be better for them.
Right.
And that's valuable as well. Absolutely.
Right. And so that's where, like, that's where I feel conflicted. It's like, well, I don't want to be the one that's saying, what, your idea is wrong, or right and right. Like, can we work together? I don't know how to, like, because I hate confrontation myself. And so I'm like, how do I do this, And so
maybe you all need to sit down and have a conversation, just like you said.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you ask if you can all sit down together and have a parent meeting?
Possibly, if I can get somebody else to help with it, because I don't want that confrontation. Because I'm one that, like, if I feel like there's people are pointing fingers at me or at whoever, I'm going to sit there and start crying because, like, oh my gosh, it's just that, like, I don't know how I can deal with that. I can deal with small kids. I just can't deal with adults.
Yeah.
And then the other issue I have is just this week, the school took Brayden out of his actual general ed class, took him into a special ed class. And the general ed class had about 20 or 24 kids. And they downsized his class to now we're at 7 in the special ed class. They went ahead and did this without consulting me first and talking to me about it and saying, hey, let's have a meeting. Can we talk? Can we do this for your son? Then this is why we want to do this,
Okay, so let me just clarify. So what you're saying is that he has an IEP that says he's going to be in the general education environment.
Yeah.
The setting is a general education setting, receiving special education services.
Right.
So he's in an inclusive setting.
Right.
And you're saying that they've created a special education setting and they're now pulling him out and putting him in that. And they didn't
tell me about it. My issue is because Brayden sometimes does not do well with transitions and changes, which I have tried, like, in the past, not kept a regular schedule. I do keep a regular schedule for him, but there's times where we go off the schedule because I want him to be okay with change.
Right. Yes.
And he was okay with the change. He didn't have a meltdown or anything when they changed it, but I would have liked to be informed so that way I could have changed. I could have
reinforced that transition
And
positively.
and so instead of just automatically out of the blue do it. And
because when people just change things, other people don't know what their role is. So they need to know so they can support the new thing. So well, it sounds like you probably need to call for a meeting.
Yeah, right? I actually did.
So what you're saying is that you would like to be informed and be part of the decision, because essentially what that was a change of placement.
Yes.
And they're assuming that that's the least restrictive environment for him, but that is a decision that needs to be made through an IEP meeting, so the team can come together and decide. That way you're involved.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I would say definitely you need to have a team meeting.
Exactly.
And not call together an IEP team meeting, not just an informal sit down meeting, because they've already made the change. So that needs to be done. So is that what you did? Oh, did you email it? You documentation.
No, I didn't email it.
Always in writing.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's that continuum. There's the least restrictive environment for a child with special needs.
Right.
This is full on general education, very little, support. And then down here is where they have to go to a special school and they have to, right?
Right.
So, now they're bumping him closer to this part.
Yeah, and Brayden's actually he's kind of like in the middle of that because he is high functioning and he is verbal and he can do things. You just have to work with him. You need to work with him harder than you would with this child or with that child.
But would you say that it was working? Things were working in the general education classroom?
It was, because he was actually doing his work.
Okay. But so he was doing his work, but have they been giving you data to show that that this has been working, that he's growing, he's getting closer to proficient?
I actually got a progress report.
Did you get his individual student report?
I think that's what that was.
Is it iStation?
No, I didn't get his iStation stuff yet back. Okay. I still have to talk to his teacher because I didn't really get to talk to his teacher after Thursday night. But I know that he did his iStation, and when right before I talked to the EA about it, Brayden's teacher said most of the class had got above 50% in their reading. And so I know that they did it, and I know that Brayden's was one of the ones that was low because of the previous years when they didn't work on them with them. So, but I know that they did it, but they won't tell me what his percentage was or what his score was on the iStations.
So it's possible that they could be making that decision based on the change in placement based on the report, but you just haven't received the report yet. Yeah. So that's you definitely need to be informed first, right? And then decisions need to be made with your input.
Yeah.
But but just remember, I mean, I don't know how long Brayden's been doing the iStation, but a lot of times what happens usually is that the iStation, there can be computer difficulties, there can be technical things going on. So, I personally, professionally, in my opinion, with my experience with iStation, is that it's not really always the best assessment to use for the very beginning of the year and base important decisions on. So does he have a different kind of assessment that they use in the class, or to try to figure out where?
I think they did. I think they did in the years before.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, do you remember what it was called?
I'm not really. They told me I think once before, but once he got to first or second grade, that's when they started doing the iStations with them instead of actually on the non-computer, and because they said that the iStations are timed.
Yes. Well, but that's the thing, is that does he have accommodations? Does he have an assessment, allowable accommodations for his test taking, his assessments?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. So those are all important factors, that you need to know about. And there's also a parent portal. You should be able to go on the iStation website and log in and be able to see his progress. Like you shouldn't be waiting to find out what's going on. You should be able to see it right away and monitor that progress, because a lot of times they have the iStation curriculum, and they can go in and assess they can also assess students, every 2 weeks or something. If they give in some interventions, then they assess them again in about 2 weeks, and then they'll see, are they growing? Is this making a change? Are they progressing?
I think they did that in this first and second grade. They just have to work with them harder on certain things than they do with a normal child. So,
or use different strategies. Maybe not work harder, but just use a different strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I was like, okay, at least he's showing that he's intelligent in so many ways versus, other play areas that he needs the help with. And that just made me happy when they told me that. I was like, yay, Was
that last year?
Yeah, this past
at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Because his IEP is actually in March, or supposed to be in March.
Okay. So this was a recent IEP. So there's really no reason to be changing the placement, because you just recently. When I say recent, March is 6 months ago. Right. But at the same time, it was towards the end of the school year, right? So,
which was another issue that I had, because his IEP is actually supposed to be in March, but they actually did his IEP this past year in May, because the person that usually does IEPs or did the IEPs was at the preschool that Brayden went to, full time, instead of being at the elementary school and combining the preschool and elementary school together. So, like they did before.
Yeah, we do there is a shortage of special education teachers.
So Brayden's IEP was held back to May instead of actually doing it in March, like they're supposed to. And they did his IEP on the last week of school instead of actually, okay, this is where it's supposed to be. You should be this. And I even asked, Brayden needs his IEP. We need to do his IEP. And like, I would do it, bringing it up every day that I brought him to school, or I was at the school. I was like, when is his IEP going to be? And they couldn't tell me, oh, well, you know, we can't do that. We can't schedule it yet because they're trying to get more stuff. I was like, that.
So they just didn't tell you anything?
They couldn't schedule it until May. And I was like, that his IEP though is in March. He needs to have his IEP. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it until May. It was like 2 months later. So it's like, really? You know? Mm-hmm. So that was the other issue I had with him when he was in second grade. Instead of actually, they should have been on top of it, and they weren't on top of things like they were.
So was it an annual evaluation, or was it his 3-year reevaluation? It
was both his annual and his 3-year evaluation. Both.
So they just did that in May?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's even more of a reason why they probably shouldn't be changing his placement right at the beginning of this school year.
Right.
So something else might be going on. Just needs some communication, right?
Yeah, it's just like they're like behind, and that's not my fault. And then like at the beginning of this year, the school didn't send over Brayden's IEP papers on to say what he's doing and what he needs to do and whatnot.
From second to third grade?
Yeah, they didn't send his records over to a point where they can work with them. And that was an issue to me because they should have actually done that beforehand because of the fact that Brayden does have an IEP. He does need these accommodations.
A lot of schools have access to the special education needs of students, their paperwork, their IEPs,
and
on the computer. They keep special education records in a different place, usually in the special education department. Yeah,
and they told me that the reason why they didn't get it is because they took away that program that they had for the IEP over the summer at some point. And so everything that they had in the IEPs were erased for everybody, on everybody's IEP. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, you know?
Erased.
Like, yeah, it's been deleted. It's not, they don't use that program or something. And so they didn't have Brayden's IEP. So that's
something you need to find out more about too.
Yeah. So I had to bring my copy to the school so that way his teacher can actually look at it. I'm glad that they're actually that they're working with him, and that's where I'm okay with that they're trying to work with him on it.
So whatever happened with the referrals that were made to CYFD about your family?
So what happened was, with one of the times that the CYFD person came in, it was like one of the last times, he said that people are going to always call CYFD on me because people don't know or they don't understand children with autism. They, because with Brayden's case, it can be hard. He has meltdowns. I have to do work differently than with Brayden. They said that they have to close the case because he can actually tell Brayden's not abused, Brayden's not neglected, Brayden's not showing any kind of proof that as to why they called CYFD on him. Last year they actually did call CYFD on Brayden, but they did not they did not actually interview me about it on a regular term. Because he actually, or they didn't do a home visit because he actually went to the school when I was actually going to school to clip his nails because that was an issue that they had. Mm-hmm. So he actually watched me clip Brayden's nails, and they saw the interaction I had with him. And when we were walking out, he goes, "There's not an issue here. There's not a problem. I don't know why they called CYFD on you. They're just nitpicking at you." And I've even read all the other CYFD cases that they had on you, and I have to agree with the other caseworkers that this is just BS. This is not a real case. You're not neglecting him. That you're not doing this. And as far as I know, the cases are closed because it's been months. It's been like 6-7 months since then. So I'm assuming it's closed.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm sorry that you have to go through that. That adds an additional layer of stress. So.
It does. And that's why, like, right now, we're with this baby, since we're expecting this baby, we're trying to make sure that we have 2 bedrooms, or actually 3 bedrooms, because I want to make sure that each Brayden and this child has their own room, because I don't know how Brayden's going to act when this big child is actually going to be born. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that he's going to be mean. I think he's going to be too helpful, and I think he's going to try to, like, help as much.
So you're one of those parents that's doing research ahead of time to try to figure that out, and you want to know. So you need the information, you need the guidance.
Yes. I'm doing research, like what you're saying is I'm trying to think the best and make sure that my boys have everything that they need, so that way they don't get taken away. Because that's my biggest fear. I can't live without my kids. So, but yeah, that's going to be hard. Or that would be hard, and I don't want that to happen.
You're definitely one of those parents that is concerned and trying to do everything you can. And, what do you think we could do? What could be done to help people learn more about children who are autistic so that they're not?
Just do your research on the child, or not just the child, but on autism, and realize that every child that's on the spectrum is different, and to expect different things from each child, because you can have one that's very high functioning and you won't know that they have autism until somebody actually says it to you, either them or the parent or whoever, because you won't know because of how high functioning they are. Or versus the child who is very low, who won't speak, who's nonverbal, and you can tell automatically that there's something, they have an issue, or that child has some kind of disability, but you don't know what it is. You have to keep that in mind, is that what's best for the child instead of the money. That's where my concern is.
When you say the money, what do you mean?
That a lot of teachers out there are just teachers because that's a job to them, and that's a way of getting money, and that's the feel I get a lot of the times. Like when we're at the meetings, I get the feeling of that they're not really caring for the child. They're just caring about doing the work, doing the job, instead of taking care of the child.
So it kind of goes back to where we started, which was positive communication, letting people know that you care in some way, and letting parents know that their child is succeeding in some way, and reinforcing that for them.
Right. And that's the whole reason why I wanted to be a teacher, because I wanted to show, like, I wanted my interest to be in the child, and not because it's just a job, because, that's what my education is, because, I wanted to be a teacher so I can be the difference to the child. That way I can make the child, or have the child succeed and learn about the child. And I feel discouraged now. I don't want to be pushed back, like with what your story was. I want to be that type of teacher that has a child's interest first. And I want them to know that they have that teacher, that one teacher that cares for them and that wants them to do that. And if they don't have any other teachers like that, I want to be that one for them.
I think what I'm realizing as I go through this journey is that it's not us against them. It's how can we work together? How can we figure out how to communicate better? How can we reinforce the positive? How can we support teachers? Sometimes teachers don't, being that I've been a teacher and you understand too, sometimes we don't feel supported in our workplace. Yeah. Sometimes we feel isolated. Sometimes we feel like we're not valued, maybe we're disrespected. And, so those are the kind of things that we can do to help teachers, feel more important. And we can't take on the whole world, we can't take on everything. I mean, I'm realizing that I can do everything I can, but I won't be able to change the whole world. I need other people to help me. We all need to work together.
Right.
And, I know that it feels like sometimes that teachers are not really interested or don't really care. They're just there for a job. But I just truly don't know of any profession that you go into where it's on a sign on the wall that says, this is going to be a hard job.
Yeah.
And so for a teacher to go into, the profession of teaching, there has to be some glimmer of hope for everybody,
Right.
And no matter who it is. And my friend Scarlett, who did the Choose Love curriculum, she talks about how there are good people. There are two kinds of people. There are good people, and there are good people in pain.
Yeah.
So we all have something going on in our lives. And so we just need to be supportive of each other and provide everybody with the support and what they need to succeed.
Right. And that's where
whatever that is.
And that's where I want to do I want to be the support, but I just feel discouraged about doing it because of the fact that with also like you had to have the teacher's licensure, and I've heard that taking that test to get the licensure is hard. Like I can't even in school. I've taken the math for teachers. I can't even pass them because I'm horrible in math.
I almost didn't pass those classes too. I passed the last one with a C.
Yeah,
I think C. So I barely passed by the skin of my the hair of my chin. But you can do it. You can do it. And we need people like you.
Yeah, I've taken the math for teachers 2 and 3. But I've taken both those like 3 or 4 different times. And each time I can't pass it because the way they have it, I can't learn from it because you have to actually know how to do it. It's like, if I wasn't in school to learn this, how am I going to be able to do it and teach it?
Jessica, we're going to have to check back with you and see what's going on.
Okay.
We're going to have to see what happened with his IEP and please just remember, we need, this is what we need. We need teachers like you, and, let's keep working together to do everything we can to make people aware of what teachers need.
Right.
To support them, and what children need to support them, and parents need to support them.
Right.
That's what we need to do. We need to just bring that awareness out. So I think you're like one of the most powerful examples of, you're a parent. You want to be a teacher. Yeah. You're educated. You totally understand all this stuff. It's like you would be such a valuable asset, in a special education setting or even a general education setting.
And I don't mind doing either or. I want to get my education.
And you're flexible. Yeah. And you're versatile.
Right. I want my degrees to be in both special ed and in general, so that way they can have both. If they need the general more, I can be that.
And you're also willing to do what a school needs.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We need people like you. So don't give up. Okay.
Right. I'm trying not to, but it's hard.
Yeah. Don't give up. Okay. Not today. Think about it, and we'll see what we can do to support you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.